I am now pleased to introduce my colleague, Aerial Services Flight Operations Coordinator, Jason Dolf, who will share his expert knowledge with you today. Jason has been employed with Aerial Services for over 16 years and is a certified photogrammetrist. Outside his normal duties within Aerial Services, Jason has served on the fire department for over 14 years. He is a certified firefighter and fire instructor and currently serves as his department's chief. Alongside his fire experience, Jason brings police experience to GIS, as he has served as a reserve police officer for over 13 years. Jason's mapping and GIS skills have assisted local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to complete their mapping needs. Today, Jason will share his firsthand knowledge of how we can all team together to benefit our communities in an incident. Thank you, Jason, for being here today.
Geographic Information Systems, GIS, has proven to be an important asset within public safety and emergency management. Having the ability to retrieve information on areas affected by an incident or a disaster and quickly displaying it on a map has proved to be a vital asset to all emergency personnel. Even with the importance of this asset, GIS personnel are often the last to be involved with mitigation and preparedness, training exercise, and response to actual emergencies or disasters. Our goal today is to outline some of the advantages and uses for GIS within public safety and emergency management. In order to do so, we'll begin with a brief synopsis of what GIS is, what public safety and emergency management are. Then we will provide some examples and samples of the types of products that can be produced by GIS staff to support an emergency or disaster. As we proceed through the presentation today, I ask that you take a second and think about how or what can I do to help. If you do not have an active dialogue between your emergency response personnel and your GIS department, I urge you to take the step and begin talking and working together before you need each other's services during an emergency or an incident. Because by working together, we can all help save lives. What is GIS? Geographic Information Systems capture, store, analyze, manage, and present data that is linked to location. GIS applications are tools that allow users to create interactive queries, analyze spatial information, edit data, maps, and present the results of all of these operations. GIS is frequently used by an assessor's office for real estate and tax mapping. It's also used by many government and private industries for management of critical infrastructure, natural resources, and virtually anything else that can be given a spatial location on Earth. What's public safety and emergency management? The personnel that provide police, fire, and medical protection and response are the foundation of the public safety system. These are generally the first responders at the scene of an emergency or disaster. Emergency management is the coordination and management of public and private resources before, during, and after a disaster, either natural or man-made. Emergency management is not comprised of police, firefighters, paramedics, or dispatchers, but does assist with coordination of these public safety entities during the 4 phases of emergency response. Responses to an emergency or a disaster are divided into 4 phases: prevention and mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. These phases are a revolving circle, and when one phase ends, the next one begins. In the middle of the circle is GIS. All phases can use GIS to enable personnel to achieve their goals. The phases of an emergency response are GIS-centric. Prevention and mitigation. During this phase, activities that prevent an emergency, reduce the likelihood of occurrence, or reduce the damaging effects of unavoidable emergencies are included. Utilizing GIS, inspection activities, community risk assessment, pre-planning, and many other activities can be completed. Mitigation activities take place before and after emergencies. Preparedness. Developing plans for what to do, where to go, or who to call for help before an event occurs. These are actions that will improve your chances of success with an emergency. Pre-planning, inventory and asset management, and training all can be enhanced with GIS. Preparedness activities will take place before an emergency. Response phase. The action taken immediately after an emergency or disaster occurs to prevent further damage and to save lives. Utilizing GIS for the response to an emergency or disaster will quickly be recognized as a key element to your response. Computer-aided dispatching, automatic vehicle location or AVL, incident management, incident mapping, analysis, and tracking are just some of the areas GIS can be enabled to aid with an incident response. Response activities will take place during the emergency. Recovery. After an emergency and once an immediate danger is over, efforts begin to return to normal or a safer environment than the emergency state. During the recovery, you should consider what to do that would lessen the effects of future disasters, because after the recovery, the mitigation phase begins again. During the recovery phase, damage assessment is conducted, infrastructure restoration, and debris removal occurs. GIS technology is available to assist in all of these tasks, as well as many others not described previously. Recovery activities take place after an emergency. There is a wide variety of uses and applications for GIS within public safety and emergency management. Our list is no way all-inclusive, but is meant to provide an overview and provide ideas of ways GIS can enhance your toolbox in the event of an emergency or disaster. HAS-US contains models for estimating potential losses from earthquakes, floods, hurricanes. Using GIS technology, estimates physical, economic, and social impacts of disaster and graphically illustrates the limits of location. Cameo and Aloha are utilized to plan for and respond to chemical emergencies. Aloha is an atmospheric dispersion model used for evaluating the releases of hazardous chemical vapors. Results from these models can be utilized with GIS platforms, and plume and evacuation maps can be created. Facility wall maps can be produced by a GIS professional for fire stations or your facility. The maps can be placed up on the wall and provide a quick, accurate, up-to-date, available map prior to going en route to an emergency. ESRI has created templates to assist with this task. Run map books. Your GIS professional can create run books for each vehicle with maps and virtually whatever additional information you would like to have included. Work with your GIS team to develop the solution that's appropriate to your individual needs. ESRI also has templates available to assist with this task. Fire hydrant mapping and inspections can be enhanced with GIS by having the ability to have a text database complemented with graphical outputs, such as maps. Each map can have geolocated hydrants coupled with the inspection data. Critical infrastructure data can be maintained and displayed with GIS and allow users to have up-to-date information readily available to them. This data can easily be updated. Response time analysis can be conducted using GIS to determine how long it will take to respond to a given address. Analysis can be conducted and graphs, charts, maps can all be compiled to display response or travel times within a specified geographic area. Facilities location analysis can be done on a geographic region to produce a graphical representation of the optimal location to place a new fire station or facility. computer-aided dispatching, and automatic vehicle location. In-vehicle computers can receive dispatch information and provide turn-by-turn directions to the scene of the emergency. Other emergency service vehicles locations can be displayed on a map using AVL technology coupled with GIS. Crime analysis and mapping. Crime data can be entered into GIS, and a graphical representation on a map and geolocates each incident. Statistics can be displayed, queries calculated, and solutions established based on these results. Information gathered can be entered into GIS for public health, therefore allowing maps to be created and data to be analyzed by creating hotspot maps and tracking medical statistics. Next Generation 911. GIS is fundamental in the Next Gen 911 phases. All the details, requirements, and regulations and standards are still being finalized, but it will be imperative that your GIS professionals are there to assist in your transition to Next Gen 911. GIS is vital in the search and rescue environment today and will become more important in the future. During search and rescue activities, I highly recommend having a GIS professional on site and available to be utilized in your incident action plan. A GIS staff member can quickly produce maps with grids as needed for an emergency or disaster, as well as provide the incident commander and other stakeholders with key information graphically displayed on a map. MapStar is a tool to assist GIS personnel with incident planning, response, and mapping. When an emergency or disaster situation occurs, all parties involved need to have a common language to communicate location and position. Utilizing the United States National Grid is a very simple solution. Derived from the Military Grid Reference System, it became adopted by the Federal Geographic Data Committee as a national standard in 2001. The United States National Grid is an area as well as a point location system. This means the system can give the coordinates of a single object as well as provide the coordinates for a grid area. Many local agencies are using United States National Grid to provide locations for utilities or fire hydrants. By doing this, you obtain a unique identification number for each asset and have a known coordinate. The United States National Grid is a simple overlay a GIS department can utilize on maps provided for their emergency responders. By empowering responders in the field with maps utilizing the United States National Grid, these responders can relay accurate location information to other responders or the incident command post. The command post can then relay location information to the responders in the field using the National Grid. Everyone involved can spatially locate one another easily, swiftly, and accurately. There are many situations where the United States National Grid can be used. During a search and rescue mission, the system can be used to define search areas using United States National Grid areas and provide point location information for specific items located. When a disaster happens, all local street signs may be missing. Using the United States National Grid can provide all parties present a coordinate system on a map to allow for communication of location information. By implementing a uniform map grid reference system such as the United States National Grid, confusion about locations will be reduced and interoperability between all agencies will be increased. The United States National Grid is scalable to the emergency or disaster currently being responded to, but can quickly be expanded as necessary with little effort. As the language of location, deploying the United States National Grid at your emergency or disaster can reduce confusion and increase emergency responders' efforts. Maps make a difference. One of the most critical assets an emergency responder can have during an emergency is maps. Oftentimes responders come to assist and they are not familiar with the task at hand. Many responders are used to having maps with basic information available for emergencies and disasters of all scales. What many emergency responders do not know is how much more useful these maps would be with bidirectional cooperation between them and their local GIS department. GIS departments, whether local, county, state, or federal, house key information beneficial to emergency responders. Some information is as simple as road vector data, aerial imagery, utility locations, and much more. The key to getting the information into the right hands at the right time is having a working relationship between emergency responders and GIS departments. GIS professionals should take time to introduce themselves and the services they can provide to their local emergency responders. The GIS profession holds many valuable resources to help an emergency responder in the time of an incident. Without education, many emergency responders do not know what a value a GIS department can have for them. Emergency responders should seek out the help of a local GIS department and learn about the wealth of information that can be provided when needed. The information exchange is best to begin prior to an incident, with pre-planning and preparation. But each entity can also supplement the other during the time of an emergency or a disaster. GIS professionals can contact their local emergency management agency director, local fire chief, police chief, or sheriff. Emergency responders can contact their local or county GIS department, the Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management Department, or feel free to contact myself. The possible uses of GIS with emergency services are endless, but most importantly, it means responders are more likely able to save time and lives with accurate, up-to-date information readily available. Thank you for your participation today and for all the resources utilized to produce our presentation. I hope you're able to understand how important GIS can be for emergency responders.